Welcome to the Roaring Reactions with the Running Through the Jungle crew. I'm your host, Brandon Harriet, with your hosts, Justin Lacey and Tim Lyons. What's going on, fellas? What did you do last night?
Oh man, you know what? Obviously, the game was disappointing in the way how it ended and unfolded. But oddly enough, compared to our other fans throughout the whole entire Bengals nation, I'm actually okay. I'm actually fine. Obviously, we'll get into more of the nuts and bolts of this matchup and how the game played out and all that stuff. But simply put, man, I already kind of knew that something like this was going to happen. I don't trust this Bengals defense to save my life. I think that there's just too many flaws across this team. It's just a shame because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and even Trey Hendrickson all season long has been carrying this team on their back, and the rest of the team, the organization has failed all three of them. And coincidentally, two of those guys should have deserved long-term investment contracts. So, it is what it is now at this point. All you can do is just be like, you know what? Let's just watch and see what we can do.
Factual information. I threatened to kick kittens last night. Tim, what did you do?
I threatened to fire Lou, the defense, the water boy, everything that had anything to do with the damn defense. Defense is the reason why we're losing these football games. And also, I want to beat the hell out of the refs, but that's besides the point. I think I need to give them my glasses or say, I heard LASIK's giving away free exams to all the NFL refs.
Dude, they're a fun follow. I love following LASIK. I mean, they even commented under one of my posts that I shared regarding them, and it was just so funny regarding a few weeks ago. Like they just love shitting on the refs, man. I'm here for it.
I just
it should have never been in that situation though. That's the frustrating part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Please, if you're listening to us right now, please hit us with that like, subscribe, rate, review, share, tell a friend to tell a friend about us. Running Through the Jungle, where you get all of your up-to-date Bengals news and what's going on and what we think should go on. And I just have an inclination that you're probably going to hear a little bit more of what we think should be going on the rest of the season as this plays out. Listen, 34-35 loss. Everybody knows about it by now. Yes, the refs were influential in some of the plays and some of the outcome. Like I said, shouldn't have got to that. We outgained the Ravens 470 yards to 389. We had a 8 for 16 third down efficiency, 2 for 4 on fourth down, 27 first downs to their 20. They did edge us in yards per play at 6.7 to 6.3, but the way this thing started off was exactly how we wanted it to. It was long drives, keeping the ball away from Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense. We only had 3 punts. They had 5. We all know that big fumble from Chase Brown was huge, pivotal in the way the momentum changed in the game. And there were 3 sacks given up. The Bengals going into this game were the least penalized team in the league. So, we were under the influence that we had a referee group that called a lot of penalties, but for whatever reason swallowed their whistle this week. I thought it was going to be an advantage us because we play a cleaner game, and it turned out to be an advantage Ravens because they didn't play a cleaner game. They just didn't get called for it. There was a lot of holding. We're in group chat. I saw a lot of different holding before we even got into the hands to the face mask, multiple face masks on multiple plays.
Yeah.
Kind of some wild stuff that you normally don't see missed very often.
Yeah.
And when you do, it really sits out. But
And let's just kind of throw out there that late hit by Marlon Humphrey on Joe Burrow that kind of got him grimacing. Dude, that was egregiously late, man. And you clearly missed that one. Like, come on, he was about like a good 2 to 3 steps, and then after the ball was already thrown, and then that hit just taking place, man. Also, while I don't want to use them as the primary focal point and the reason why we lost this game, because the Ravens did really beat themselves in the first half. I mean, they were committing penalties, holding penalties early on. illegal formations and stuff that was backing them up deep in their own territory and whatnot. And it seemed like that, okay, this was going to be the game that they just kind of like beat themselves a little bit. And then the Bengals just, get it going on offense. And you saw we got out to a 14-7 lead at halftime, then go up 21-7 in the beginning of the third quarter. You thought that this was going to be it, but even with the penalties that was missed in the second half, it still felt like that was the Bengals game. They just kind of just gave it away again.
Same as the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
We're up 21-7. Get the ball and start moving down the field. So, yeah, that was a rough one. So, there's kind of the recap of the game in a nutshell, the nuts and bolts as far as, team stats, player stats, well documented. Joe Burrow, 428 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, 11 catches for 264 yards.
Beautiful.
3 touchdowns, 24-yard average. And just when that guy's in the open field, he's something else to watch. But listen, that's kind of the bird's eye view of it. But what, Tim, I'll kick it to you first. What's your reaction to this recap? Where does it go wrong? Is it fixable? What do we got to what do you want to see going forward from this Bengals team?
Well, the results are in from voting, and Jamar Chase is the best damn wide receiver in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. Because we know how every team plays him. They double him, they triple him. And Jamar Chase is the best damn wide receiver in NFL. I don't care what anybody says. But unfortunately, we had an L last night. Wasted all those yards and all those touchdowns to get an L in the end. It was a good game. I think Zach Taylor was. It wasn't the Zach Taylor that I was used to. That we've been used to seeing. He actually was playing very aggressive, going forward on 4th downs. It was just like, what the hell? Who's this? Who's this coach that we have? I think Zach Taylor. I think this is probably one of his best coached offensive games that he's had all year because of his aggressiveness.
And I saw more motion. I saw some more things I liked out of the offense. I will agree with that.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say, we need to send Herbert back to the Chicago. He wants to fumble a football on his very first carry as a Bengal. Not good.
Yeah, that's an exchange thing. I mean, it's the first time he's taken an exchange from a quarterback. He didn't have enough time to work with him. I get that. I think going forward, it's going to be a moot point, but not the way you want to start off, though.
No, absolutely not the way you want to start off. But
I thought it was funny that after that happened, bro, he didn't even get another touch. Get off the field, bro. Chase Brown, this is your workload today, bro. But sorry, go ahead, Tim.
But, I was impressed. Speaking of Chase Brown, I was impressed of his blocking. Roquan Smith came right up the middle to sack Joe Burrow. And Chase Brown stepped up and hit him. He does need to work on his ball carrying skills because fumbling is not what we like, especially when we're playing against the Ravens. And I know all you Bengals fans or Joe Mixon's fans, Joe Mixon didn't fumble the football, blah, blah. Well, Joe Mixon's not here no more. He plays for the Texans. So you want to compare apples to oranges, go watch the Texans. But you are correct. Joe Mixon did not fumble the ball, but this isn't Joe Mixon. But the offense played very good ball. The defense, of course, can't tackle worth a damn. That 86-yard touchdown by the Ravens.
Yeah, the 84-yarder from Tylan Wallace, yeah.
Yeah, Logan Wilson couldn't make a tackle. CTB couldn't make a tackle. Geno Smith couldn't. I know when I played football, that's one thing that we were taught to do was a tackle. But, hey, I guess it's different standards for Bengals defense. And I am going to be pretty rough on the Bengals defense. Besides Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson was out there against Ronnie Stanley, and he had his work cut out for him against Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley is no joke. He is a Pro Bowl a Pro Bowl left tackle, and Trey Hendrickson was trying to do what they could, try to get their hands on Lamar Jackson, but unfortunately we had 0 sacks. But other than that, my roaring reaction is It's another disappointing loss. We lost by a play, by a bad call. It is what it is. I praise Zach Taylor for going for it and going for two in the end. The way that our defense was playing, I don't give a shit what you say about it was dumb, and you know who I'm talking to. I don't care if you say it's dumb. It wasn't dumb. The way our defense was playing, we're going for two to take the lead. If you don't like that call, well, I'm glad you're not a Bengals fan. Hooday.
Hey now. All right, let's get Justin, your reactions. I know you got a lot on your mind about especially this defense. A lot of praise on the offensive side, and then 4 straight touchdown drives for the Ravens to finish the game. What were your thoughts on the game overall?
Yeah, I'll try to echo into like start off by like a small summary and a synopsis of what I felt of the game. It was an overall great game. If you're not a fan of both of these two teams and you're just a natural football watcher, for the second straight game meeting between these two teams, it was a classic. And, Burrow, Lamar, 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league, 2 of the top 2 quarterbacks that's playing at MVP caliber levels this year alone are just duking it out. This was more of Joe Burrow's game to win, more so, just kind of like the last one. I feel like that the epitome of this particular game was more so incumbent of 3 plays that was just horrific, that did not swing the way that the Bengals could have swung it into. Outside of these 3 plays, it just felt like the game was like they controlled the tempo of the game throughout the entirety of from start to finish. Even when there was misses and stuff, went to 4th down attempts and you missed that and all that. In spite of all of that, it just felt like from start to finish, the Bengals controlled the tempo of the game. Before the game even kicked off, man, we already saw and spoke about it ad nauseum that Joe Burrow was sending a clear message to his team, to the coaching staff, to the front office, like, dude, get up on board and let's get ready to do this thing. And in the first half, Joe Burrow, he made some plays, obviously, but he was kind of struggling a little bit. You know what I mean? He missed some wide open throws here and there. But then in the second half, man, he was just cooking like fish grease, like we've known him to be. Him and Jamar they were just dominant. And I think that this is more an indictment on the Ravens secondary that, yeah, you guys are one of the top teams right now in the football, but dude, they're in trouble. I can see this Ravens team having the best record in the AFC, or let's say get the number 1 seed in the AFC, assuming that the Chiefs lose some games and they continue to win. And then they go 1 and done if they go against the right matchup at the wrong time. I can clearly see that happening from this Baltimore Ravens team, because that secondary, while they play better than our secondary, obviously, if they go against a upper echelon quarterback with like more weapons, and if it falls in their favor, dude, the Ravens are going to be in some serious trouble. The first half, the Bengals defense made it seem like that, you know what? Maybe they probably are turning the corner a little bit here. They got some pressure. They forced some 3 and outs, just like the first game. The first half of the Bengals-Ravens matchup in Cincinnati in Week 5, we saw the same thing in the first half. Okay, the Bengals defense might look like they ready to play some AFC North ball. Then the second half came in, it was just deja vu. It was much to do about nothing. It was the same thing. Missed tackling. It was very monumental of the decision-making from the front office and the coaching staff to go after the free agents that they did, and the draft picks that is just taking a major step back. It's just an ultimate whiff by this. It's just the ultimate whiff. Outside of Trey Hendrickson, there is not a single person that I trust on that defense. And I don't even blame Trey Hendrickson for not even getting to the quarterback. He was the only one that got pressure. They didn't really pressure Lamar like that for real. And it was very frustrating because I know Lamar, he's uber athletic, and Trey Hendrickson almost did get a sack. Lamar just got away. It was very frustrating because the 3 plays that I wanted to bring up that really lost this game was obviously the Chase Brown fumble. That swung the entire momentum. The second play was in the red zone with the Ravens had the ball. Lamar Jackson ran 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage, trying to shake off would-be tacklers, and it was a clear opportunity to push him out of bounds or get a sack or at least force an incompletion, and you were too scared that he was going to do the exact same thing that he did in the first meeting, which was throw that crazy wild touchdown pass as he was going out of bounds to Isaiah Likely. But it was not likely, no pun intended. But you would let him just jog to a first down after getting those 20 yards back and just jog into another 10 more yards just to get a first and goal. And then from then on, it was just like, all right, you already know what's going to happen here. That this Bengals defense is not going to stop them from the 1. And then the third and final play was honestly the 4th and 2 and the 3rd and 2. Making those go balls attempts to, oh, I'm sorry. That's going to be separate. The third and final play was one that Tim mentioned. The 84-yard scamper touchdown to Tylan Wallace. That's pretty much just summarizes the piss poor effort by this defense. Three people had a chance to. That should have been a 6-yard gain at the very least. It should never been that much cushion to begin with, but whatever. He caught it, got the first down. He never should have had the ability to turn upfield right then and there. Just bad all the way football, man. And I just feel like that is the epitome of what summed up this defense throughout the entirety of the season. You had the opportunities there, and you literally let it slip away, and you make no effort down the sideline from there. Tylan Wallace is not very good. I'm sorry. He's 4th on the Ravens depth chart for a reason. And for him to basically just embarrass your defense like that, 2 of those guys were supposed to be guys that you would have saw.
If he was good, they wouldn't have traded for Deontay Johnson. End of story.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And Deontay Johnson didn't even look good either last night.
He hasn't looked good for 3 years.
He hasn't looked good for 3 years. See, he looked bad. But overall, man, look, it's very disappointing and it's very telling. But I'm not really upset because at the end of the day, this Bengals team is just not good enough. And we've already known that coming into this game. We just hoped that the opportunity the pendulum would have swung and we finally get the breaks to go our way to get this win. The Bengals deserved to win this game. They really did. Joe Burrow deserved to win this game both times. And unfortunately, the team around him, outside of Jamar Chase, as I keep mentioning, and outside of Trey Hendrickson, even though I know he didn't get a sack, everybody else just let him down. And I got to look squarely at the defense, but there's guys on offense that we're going to point out too as well that needs to be put in the blender.
So when we keep talking about the defense, I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this. When you look at the trend of the defense, right, in the 2 games against Baltimore, against the game against the Commanders, there's another one in there too.
The Philadelphia
Eagles. What is the ongoing trend in those games is this. Start off looking pretty good. So when we come back from halftime and every possession is a score in those 4 games, how much of that is, yes, there's some bad tackling. Yes, there's some stuff going on. Is there also some getting out coached that they're making adjustments at halftime? What are we doing to counter their adjustments? Like where's that at? Because I mean, if you go to 4 games and in those 4 losses, literally give up a score on every single possession in the second half. That's more than just poor tackling. That's multiple things to me.
And you know what? I'll start off this too, because that is a common thread that we've seen throughout this defense. Now, we thought they were going to turn the corner because when the Ravens got the ball to start the second half, the Bengals got them off the field. And it made you believe that, okay, like I said in the beginning, like maybe maybe this team does want to rally around their quarterback and they have turned the corner a bit there. And then you thought it was even more so when Jamar Chase got that 67-yard touchdown from that pitch catch from Joe Burrow. And it just felt like, all right, it's on now. But then what ended up happening was much to do about the same thing again. The fumble is, like I said, the fumble just basically just changed the entire momentum of the game. And then from then on, they never regressed momentum back again. It was just Joe Burrow just having them be excellent just throughout the rest of the second half for them to even have a chance to win the game. And unfortunately, they just didn't win. So
yeah, it seems like if Trey doesn't bow up and make a play, I don't think anybody does. Tim, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, like we've already said before, out of our defense, who's an instant starter on the Ravens? You know, who's an instant starter on the Steelers? Nobody besides Trey Hendrickson. We've gotten nobody else to. There's no lockdown corner out there. There's no, other defensive lineman out there or linebacker that's going to cause, that's going to change our defensive way. But yeah,
no one strikes fear in that team outside of Trey.
Yeah, exactly. And you're 100% right. I believe that we just got out coached that second half. That defense, and Lou's scheming for that second half. It started off good when we went them, 3 and out, and when they went 3 and out. But then after that, I was just like, where's our defense? They, I don't know. I don't honestly know the answer anymore. The only answer that I can give is we get rid of Lou and we get a real defensive coordinator, someone fresh, someone's got fresh ideas that it can adjust to, adjust in the second half to their changes that they did, even though the game plan worked in the first half. This is football. Come on. They're not going to just stick to doing the same old thing. It's just not going to happen. That's the thing is about the Ravens. The Ravens play a different type of football. Like I said, I made a comment. Pay posted this thing about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback. He has evolved so much since his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
He has evolved so much in his rookie year. And I know that I made the comment of, well, maybe his knee wasn't feeling, 100%. It didn't matter yesterday. He was out there doing what Lamar does, what Lamar Jackson does. And Lou just didn't adjust in that second half. And unfortunately, it cost us the L.
And those coaches are supposed to put their players in the best possible positions they can to make plays. I rewind to the game before, 2 games before, we saw when they're trying to hide blitz packages and they end up dropping a lineman here or there into coverage. Who was the lineman that they dropped in that made the play a couple weeks ago and did the whole lockdown thing?
Miles Murphy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So young, athletic, quick. Miles Murphy drops back, makes a play. Who did I see drop back yesterday?
Trey Hendrickson.
I did not understand that at
Your
all.
only guy getting pressure drops back into coverage.
And he got still caught it and got a first down, by the way.
Yep.
And then on the other side, I saw Sam Hubbard. Okay, you can do that with Miles Murphy, maybe even Joseph Osai, because those guys have some speed, have some athleticism. Don't take your only pass rush and drop him into coverage. And then don't take Sam Hubbard, who's obviously a very cerebral and smart player, but has lost more than a step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you drop him back in coverage.
And you know what, man? The degree of difficulty between both quarterbacks and what they had to face, I feel like Joe Burrow had to overcome a greater degree of difficulty because the offensive line, the interior, was just absolutely putrid in this game. And the Ravens cornerback,
and he's a magician.
He
should have been sacked 8 times.
And Jamar Chase, the way he was able to slither through tight covers through that Ravens secondary and be able to outgain them when he called his 67-yard touchdown catch. The second one, I don't think that was the first one. When he caught that one, it was an impressive throw by Joe to anticipate him getting open, but it was the patience and the speed of Jamar Chase to be able to break it at the perfect time. And when I saw him split those 5 tackles, I already knew it was going to the house just because Jamar is just special. But but outside of all of that, Joe Burrow had to overcome so much greater degree of difficulty in trying to read the coverages, more so than Lamar and what he had to face against the Bengals defense, because the Bengals defense they just made life so easy for these. They just make it so easy for these quarterbacks, man, and it's so damn frustrating.
Yeah, and one thing, and I don't know if maybe I wasn't really paying that much attention yesterday because it was just a frustration in me, but it seemed like we weren't pass rushing very much
because they scared.
It just seemed that way. And Joe Burrow's getting beat the hell up by the Ravens defense and just getting beat up. But it seemed like to me all we were doing was bringing 4, and that was it.
Bro, it's because they too scared to try to send it. Because they don't want to send an extra person in case it breaks down again and Lamar slithers out and then he breaks a tackle. They don't want what he did to Sam Hubbard on that Isaiah Likely touchdown in the first game that happened, and that's what he does. But the fact of the matter is, though, Lamar can do that no matter who he goes against. The Bengals defense showed him way too much. Like, they fear him. It seems like the Bengals defense played too much respect to his ability, and it almost comes off as that borderline between respect and fear. Instead of understanding, like, dude, this is AFC North football. We got to make work hard for him, because even the touchdown pass that he had were just so wide open gaps that the one that he did, like the Steph Curry little hook shot, that should have been like batted down for incomplete at least. That ball hung up in the air so long. Before that, you finally was like, oh, they got an incompletion in this 3rd and goal or something like that, or 2nd and goal. It was such a rare occasion to get an incomplete pass on this dude, because the missed assignments, the losses in coverage, and even that hook shot to Rashad Bateman for that final touchdown that Lamar threw. Cam Taylor-Bridges just got his foot trapped, and then he just lost the ability to be able to catch up.
He was running in quicksand.
Shoot, man, it's to the point where it's like, man, this Bengals defenses have absolutely no skill, no determination, no willpower to even understand, like, bro, I have a quarterback on my team that is rising above everything else and trying to rise to the occasion and putting the team on his shoulders. And this defense shows no willpower whatsoever to get a stop in a critical moment. When Joe Burrow scored that 28th point with that bomb to Jamar Chase, that scored so quick, and I was like, oh wow, okay, maybe we had a chance. But I knew in a bit of my heart that I knew we was going to still lose this game, because I knew that the Bengals defense was not going to rise to the occasion. And guess what? They didn't. So it's still impressive effort by Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and the rest of the guys that contributed to getting all those points scored. And we'll go into the conversation of should have they gone for 2 or not. I mean, I think that we can probably seldomly somewhat agree that was the right call. But at the end of the day, man, this defense, we can compare it to like other bad defense in the past, bro. I really have not seen a bad defense like this in a long time.
All right. Let's go to a break here real quick, hear from our sponsors. We'll come back. We'll discuss the coach's cliff notes, which I'm sure will be very short. And we'll get into giving some game balls away, some of them reluctantly and some of them not so reluctantly. So while we're gone right here on this break, go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, share. If you have not done so far, rate, review 5 stars. We appreciate you very much. And we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to the Roaring Reactions and Coach's Cliff Notes. Now the fun part, the Coach's Cliff Notes. Man. Boy, frustration is really boiling up. Zach Taylor showed some frustration. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, both saying basically that it's dumbfounding how they can be playing so well and not winning games. They know they're playing at an elite level and still not able to pull off games. Zach Taylor said it a little more judiciously, but basically said the same thing. We got guys playing at an elite level. I think he added Trey into his conversation. And not able to get over the hump and win some good games. They're only beating losing teams. If you have more than 2 wins, the Bengals have not beat you. So anything you guys want to share about the coach's cliff notes you want to take away from it or add to it?
I mean, for me, Joe Burrow just sounds like a guy that's very dejected. Is that he's operating like, what more can I do? You know, this team is not good enough, and I'm trying everything in my willpower to put this team on my back. And quite frankly, this team sucks. Just simply put, that's what Joe Burrow sounds like when I hear him speak. I am with him on the frustrations on everything that he said in his presser. It sounds like a guy that hates losing. And I'm going to say the same thing for Jamar Chase. Things that I'm about to say is going to line up tandemly with those 2 guys. These are 2 guys that sound like that they absolutely can't stand the fact that they're losing. They're doing everything they can
100%.
Just to make plays. And, you know, the opportunities are all there. And we're just supposed to just deal with the same old coach speak like, you know, we still believe in the guys that we have in our locker room. I understand, man. You got to unite your brotherhood and stuff like that and band together and don't let, you know, losing infect the locker room as much as losing teams in the past have done it with theirs. I don't believe that they're there yet as far as like it's breaking into the locker room. But overall, the locker room can read vibes too. Like everybody ain't stupid. They can understand exactly what's been happening with this team from up top and to how they've treated their players to some that's still here and some that's not here. I mean, we can get into the Jesse Bates and the Joe Mixon conversation on another day. I don't want to spew off and get into that conversation because, boy, we can cut loose on that. But they see what's going on here with these contract situations. And you do wonder that has affected the locker room overall in its entirety. But I don't think that that's still inexcusable for like the defensive side of the ball to play as bad as they've been, because Jamar Chase, who's literally going through a contract situation right now with the Bengals and basically, not getting his deal when getting his just due, he's still going out there and putting video game numbers. He is like a real life Madden player out there. So to hear him and hear Joe Burrow speak about their career years feel like they're being wasted, it's telling to me. And for Zach Taylor, I'll just say this. I will criticize Zach Taylor for a lot of things, but the game is not this past game was not one of them. I will look at that as that, look, man, he coached like he wanted to be aggressive. He wanted to win. He did not trust putting Evan McPherson out there for a 50-something yard field goal numerous times. In fact, that wasn't even a question in his mind. Evan McPherson, all you're going to be responsible for is extra points and kickoffs. That's all you're going to do. We'll handle it from here. Because if he would have just try to go the conservative approach and kick a field goal, when it was like 4th and 3 and they passed up like a 54-yard.
I also think that he's always played over the past few years with a mentality of it takes 7 to beat certain teams. He does it against the Chiefs. He does it against the Ravens. And I think it's the right mentality to have.
It's absolutely true. And also, too, guess who else do it? Other teams, other winning teams. The
Detroit
Chiefs,
Lions,
bro,
the Kansas City Chiefs,
the Chiefs,
the Rams.
Remember the regular season game when we played the Chiefs in 2022 in our house? Dude, the Chiefs went for it like on 4th down like 3 times, and they did get it like on 3 different times too. But like they knew that they had to go for it because they knew who they were going against on the other side of the field. It works both ways, man. You got to understand how to pick your poison. The play call, I didn't think that the play calling was bad. The 3rd and 2 and the 4th and 2, that decision, I hated those go balls because there were other people open. That put that a little bit more on Joe Burrow than Zach Taylor, because the play design was there to have people open in those spots when you go back and rewatch the film. But trying to throw a go ball to Jermaine Burton of all people on 4th and 2, just not. That's not going to cut it.
He's not in tune with Burton. There's not enough. They haven't played together enough. That was pretty obvious. I was surprised. If you're going for it on 4th down, why not run it on 3rd? Or
why not try to run and get a yard or something?
Or run a jet sweep with Chase or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's kind of my takeaway on it.
And they did say that, people were complaining about like, why did the Bengals abandon the run and stuff like that? Dude, they did stick to the run here and there. They wasn't scared to run the ball, even if they didn't get chunk yardage.
And I feel like they forced it just to keep them honest.
Yeah, and true. But they also knew that the best way that we were going to win this game was Joe Burrow he was just locking them up and locking and loaded with his arm talent and the way he did that. So it's one of those things where fans are going to complain about the run game and not and us abandoning the run. What really reality was that Joe Burrow throwing the ball was going to help you win this game no matter what anyways. And he literally did everything he could throwing the ball to win this game for you. You just didn't win in the end.
Well, we can obviously see our frustrations are bubbling us analyzing their play again during the coach's Cliff Notes section because there's so much of it to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
But Tim, putting it back on track, coach's Cliff Notes, anything that you heard from Jamar, from Coach Taylor, from Joe Burrow that you would like to add to or dissect here?
Yeah, one thing I'm tired of hearing these reporters asking Jamar Chase or even Joe Burrow, how do you feel about this loss? Well, how do you think they're? How do you
it's a
think?
Stupid question, bro.
How do you think they feel? Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow played for LSU. They won a championship. They're used to winning. Right now, this isn't the norm. So stop asking them that question. But that's it. That's all I got for the coach's cliff notes.
All right. Well, let's get some game balls away. I want to end on a high note. So I'm going to save the offense for the second one. So we'll start with defense. Justin, who are you giving your defensive game ball to?
I'm going to stick with Trey Henderson because he was the only person that infected the pass rush to the best of his ability, with the honorable mention of Mike Hilton. I thought that Mike Hilton did everything he could, even though he didn't have opportunities to tackle as much. But realistically, man, for the defense, I need to give out a blame ball. And that's the person that deserves the most blame on that side of the ball. And everybody was bad, so to speak. But my blame ball recipient is going to Cam Taylor-Britt. I'm sorry, man. I have not been so much more disappointed in the defensive player who we had high hopes of.
Real high hopes
of a guy that we thought was going to ascend to a Pro Bowl caliber, all pro level, like finally become that true shutdown corner. And we, with the addition and hoping that Dax Hill was going to pan out to be that number 2 corner along with him ascended to the number 1. And it would have made you feel somewhat good about, hey, look, even though we missed Jesse Bates and he departed and moved on and stuff, we got this guy. We got this shutdown corner that can lock up a whole side of the field and you don't want to throw to him. And that has been anything but that. Yeah. Teams are finding him. I looked at you want to talk about adjustments? I think Todd Monken told Lamar Jackson, go after Cam Taylor-Britt. And that's exactly what he did. Yeah, they picked on him so much, man. And then the missed opportunity with the dropped interception, and I get it. Baltimore, Brandon Stevens had an interception that was ruled out of bounds. It was incomplete. I get all that. But Cam Taylor-Britt, dude, he is not good, okay? It's time to just stop hearing excuses. I don't want to hear no more speeches from him from the locker room and talk. Dude, cut it. All right, you're just terrible. And you deserve the most blame about this, just entirely of this defense for me personally.
So you did mention he almost had an interception. He had a great one-handed interception against Kansas City. He does make great splash plays. My problem with CTB, his highs are real high, but his lows are real low. An absolute whiff on an easy tackle.
Seriously, man.
Falling down in the end zone, when you only had 13 yards to guard somebody, you couldn't get deep enough. Like little things like that. Can't get beat behind you when they're on the 3-yard line. That's crazy.
Yeah. Terrible.
So, little things like that. Tim, what about you? Defensive game ball or blame ball if you got one. What does the blame ball look like, by the way? Does it have like moss growing on it? Or?
Man, they got spikes on it. And so when you throw it on, you're going.
When the stitching would let go and you get that little booby thing that would pop out of it with the bladder would stick out through the ball. You got one of those on it, something like that. That's a blame ball. That's what I'm picturing.
All right. Well, for my defensive game ball, I'm not going to give it to Trey Hendrickson. I know Trey Hendrickson had his work cut out for him, like I said, versus Stanley. He did what he could do, but I'm gonna, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give it to the rush defense. They actually did a great job against Derrick Henry. He had 68 yards and a touchdown, but they actually played really good. That was one of my key moments that we needed to keep Derrick Henry at bay, and I think that we did it. We stepped up to the plate and did it once again. Even though Derrick Henry's wearing purple and he's no longer wearing, baby blue and white anymore, but they stepped up and they contained him and they played and they stopped him from going wild. So my defensive game ball is going to go to the rush defense.
A lot of that, how that happened too, and I don't know if you saw the same thing I was seeing, but if you look at the stats at the end of the game, Rankins I think only had 1 tackle. I think Chris Jenkins only had 1 or 2. I think 2. None of those guys had a bunch of tackles on the defensive line, but even McKinley Jackson, BJ Hill, all those guys were taking up on that run game. They were taking 2 blockers or multiple blocks on and letting. That's where Pratt had 10 tackles, and so did Hilton came up and made a couple of tackles. Battle came up and made some tackles. Wilson came up and made a couple. He hit him hard once.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So although their numbers weren't splashy with tackles, I thought they played real well up front as far as not giving ground in that line of scrimmage. Did you see his
especially BJ Hill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I'm giving them my game ball. My honorable mention is going to go to DJ Turner. I think he played better than CTB out there. Like we've said over and over again, Cam Taylor-Britt is not a cornerback one. He's not.
And I got to be honest,
quarterback too, bro.
I was a little bit concerned with DJ Turner because Zay Flowers has been on fire recently, and he was on him more often than not, and I was a little concerned with that. I might have bet over 5.5 catches on DJ Turner. I don't recall. I might have. But I'm gonna give my defensive game ball, and this is mostly eye test, and it is graded on a curve of what I saw earlier in the year from this position. Did get beat on one crossing pattern, but you can't. If you've given somebody enough time for a wide receiver or tight end to run all the way across the field, it's kind of tough to guard that with anybody. But I thought Jordan Battle played pretty well. Better than what we've seen out of that safety position.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the splash play where the 84-yard touchdown, not on Jordan Battle's side. You look at some of those things, the runs and stuff were on his side a lot of times. So I thought he played pretty well. Could he play a little bit better? Yeah, but I think we're improving, and that's with a guy who hasn't been getting a lot of reps so far, this year, especially at the beginning of the year. I think he's going to get nothing but better and better. I wish they would have just kept playing him.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's me. All right, offensive game balls. Tim, we'll throw it back over to you since you're yawning. Who gets your offensive game ball?
I'm giving it to the best wide receiver on this planet, Jamar Chase. I don't. I know. I'm sure probably one of you guys are going to give it to Joe Burrow. Both of you guys are going to give it to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow played out of his mind. He had that eye of the tiger, in his eye. He's my honorable mention. But I'm going to give it to Jamar Chase. Like I said, the best wide receiver on the league. I don't need to further go into it because we've seen what he did. We see what his numbers was. And that's it. Just game ball. Jamar Chase.
11 for 264, 3 tutties. I don't recall, not even the Bengals. I don't even know if I've done this with any other wide receiver where they catch it on a crossing route and within their second step, I jump out of my chair and go, meow, because I knew he was gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can just tell.
Yep.
All right. Justin, who you giving your offensive game ball to?
Splitting them in half Joe, half Jamar.
Come on. Damn it. This
half ball crap.
Shit.
Come on.
Bro, man, like seriously. Why not? I mean, Joe Burrow had to make the right decisions on okay, you know what? Fine.
You're right. But the question is Justin, if you could only give a game ball out,
I understand.
Who would it go to?
All right, fine. I'm going to give it to Joe.
Perfect. Right.
It's simple. He was the best player on the field. Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the league, but Joe Burrow was the best player on the field. And that's he was the field general. He basically controlled. Like I said, if it wasn't for him, this game obviously would have been lost by a sheer margin. But he controlled the tempo of the game from start to finish, in spite of some of the poor decisions, like the poor throws that he made early on, and then on that 4th and 2 and 3rd and 2 goal balls, whatever. That was stupid, yes. But he still did everything he could, and part of making great decisions is getting your best player on offense involved, and that's Jamar Chase. And he got his tight ends in good situations, moving defenders with his eyes to be able to throw touchdown pass to Tanner Hudson of all people. So with that being said, you're not getting any more production outside of Jamar Chase from the wide receiver room. Andre Yoshivas, I get it. He did catch the 4th down clutch from like a bear, like by a hair. To keep that drive extended. But, dude, this wide receiver room outside of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and I know he was not on the field, dude, it's abysmal. I don't trust a single soul out there. So, yeah, it's going to be Joe. He did everything he could to work with what he had, and obviously he was great to have Jamar Chase there, but Joe's going to get my game ball recipient if I had to pick one. I can't split him in half.
Man, I don't know. I'm going to say this. I think the best two quarterbacks in the NFL played on that field last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Joe Burrow had the better game with a higher degree of difficulty. I got to give my game ball to Joe Burrow. 428, 4 tutties, no picks, and was an absolute magician buying time in the pocket, only getting sacked 3 times when it should have been 8 or 9. Yeah. Joe Burrow, man. And listen, I can't take away from what Jamar Chase did. That's an incredible game. He's a difference maker. I think he is the best wide receiver right now in the game. Joe Burrow might be the best player in the NFL right now. He's playing at that high a level.
In spite of a losing record.
In spite of a losing record and a whole bunch of things in that deck stack behind him. Our offensive line, first of all, not having Orlando Brown Jr. at left tackle makes that pretty weak. And then you look at what our guards, centers, I like Karras, I like Kappa. When they came over a few years ago, it solidified us in the center. They're getting a little bit longer in the tooth. We need to start we need to have a little more protection up the center.
Yeah.
Metabikwe was wrecking havoc in the middle of that line, and you got to have somebody. They'd double team him, it wouldn't matter. He'd split it. Got to do a better job there. So I think all those things stacked against Joe. I think Joe's playing as good as anybody in the league. And I do listen. I like the Joe Cool moniker. I like the Joe Cool doesn't. He's always the coolest guy. But I want him to throw damn temper tantrum. I want him to break something on a sideline. I want him to get fired up. I want him to get in someone's face. Don't go take the coaches in the locker room and have a gentlemanly talk with them.
Right.
Scream at somebody. I'm tired of this shit, man. Let it go.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. That's what we need. Hey, and you thought that he kind of explored oozed that little bit of that passion last week against the Raiders, talking about like, dude, don't celebrate. This is not good enough. And I love that part. And I think that this is a game to where it's like, dog, we got to do something, because I will just say this before, and this can be my final thoughts. If the Bengals do not win against the Chargers next Sunday night, that's it. You got a change has to be made. My prediction is Lou Anarumo gets fired. That's the first domino to fall, and then maybe Zach Taylor bye week fired. But like, then after the season is over with, then maybe you might say like, okay, it's time to probably part with Zach Taylor and other parts of the organization as well too, because this cannot continue much longer. That's if we lose against the Chargers. If they win, it can still buy you a little bit of time, give you this false hope like it does us all. But nonetheless, man, the clock is ticking. You got to make something happen with this quarterback that you have. Otherwise, man, it's just going to be a disaster, waste of a talent. And Joe Burrow is a Hall of Fame level talent that you're just letting him just sit and rot in festering in bad decision making in this organization. So we can't have that happen. Now, I'm not saying that we're the Browns and we're just pathetic, but they're too conservative for my taste, and I need them to be better than that.
You owe it. You owe it to Joe Burrow to be better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, you got any closing comments before we wrap this up? Put a bow on it.
I'm going to be quick. Go over to watch the homies with B Dirt, Pay Saunders.
That's me.
Big G and Tate. They'll be going on probably within the next minutes as we get off of this podcast. Go over there, support B Dirt. He is our Bengals representative. He's the only one that makes sense over there besides
That's
Pay.
right.
Pay has his moments as well. Our fellow Ravens AFC North guy in Chicago, Frustrated Chicago podcast. But go over there, support B Dirt, enjoy the 2 hours that they're going to bring to you. They're going to bring to you the homies and then the homies overtime.
I'm driving overtime tonight, by the way, and we're going to get feisty.
There we go. And B Dirt's going to be driving it. So go over there, give them some support. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Like, subscribe, and share. And also come watch me on Tuesdays with Who Day Weekly. Have a great rest of your weekend. God bless you guys.
Yep, we are going live right now over there on the homies. I'm gonna head over there. I'm gonna leave you with this thought though, right here. This is gonna be real interesting this year. That's the HBO original series Hard Knocks with the season of the AFC North. Woo wee! We are gonna hear some weird things. I'm looking forward to that one, man. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be real good. That's it. We're out of here. That's the recap. Check us on Wednesday at 8:05 p.m. for Running Through the Jungle. And we out.